Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to an episode of the Semi Pro USL Show. We are here with the June 12th edition. And we told you we were going to start bringing in some special guests. We're going to bring in some interviews, some little quick hitters, so you can learn a little bit more about what's going on around the USL. No, this is not me dodging the fact that Birmingham Legion 2 lost 7-0 last night to Asheville City, although it is quite convenient, so I don't have to relive it. But we are going to be talking to a special guest. He's been on the USL show, flagship show, before, and it's always good to catch up with him. The men's general manager of Real, not Real, Real Central New Jersey. Ira Jersey. Ira, how are you, man?
I'm great. So thanks very much for having me on again. We're mid-season now. We've played 6 matches. We're 2-2-2, so exactly 500. So we're yeah, looking forward to the end of the season and making a push for the playoffs here.
Yeah, so obviously the season has been pretty even keel. It's been exactly the same all year long, 2-2-2. You know, there's been some good results, some frustrating results. We've seen the post-game interviews that came out from coach from the most recent match or 2 matches ago. And it was, a little bit of frustration, but also some really nice results. From your perspective, how has everything gone?
Yeah, so we've played really well getting into the final third. Every single match that we've had, we've outshot our opponents, but we just can't find the back of the net enough in order to get the results that we really should. That was particularly true in Lehigh Valley, where the Lehigh Valley, we outplayed them for 85 minutes of the game, and then they get a set piece, and we give up on some poor marking on a set piece, and it's 1-0. But that's the way football goes, right? And last week against Westchester has a great program, right? They are really, really good at soccer. They have a big roster, multiple teams, not only in USL but also NPSL, so have a big talent pool to draw from. And they frustrated us last week. They played really well going down a man, just bunkering and trying to play on the counter. Again, we had 19 shots and we just only scored 1 goal, right? So that's been our problem. So we're working on that, and we have a couple of really important fixtures coming up here with Reading on Saturday and the Nor'easters, the Ocean City Nor'easters, next week. So just to give you some history and background, we were started. This is our 5th season. We came in second place a couple of years ago in our division, but back then only the top team made the playoffs. Now the top 2 teams make the playoffs. That was something we lobbied for in a big way, because otherwise you get to this point in the season and you're not playing for anything. If a team like Westchester, like they did, right, they went 6 games undefeated, and they only need another probably 5 or something to make the playoffs. So that way we always have something to play for toward the end of the season. We've never beaten the Nor'easters. We've taken the most points out of anyone in the division from them by getting a ton of draws, but never actually beaten them. And I would argue our second game of the season this year, we outplayed them and we still lost 2-1 on a pretty bad goalkeeping error. And we outplayed them, but we couldn't score. So that's something we've been focusing on this week. This was our first week where we don't have 2 matches in a week. So, having 4 games, getting an injured player back, like all of those things are hopefully going to help us over the next couple of games.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned just kind of the difference in who is available and like how many playoff spots are available. You guys find yourself technically in third place. The USL League Two website does things by like points per game because I think that's kind of the tiebreaker. But they end up seeing just a lot of movement. And even though you're in third, there's still something to play for. There's still something to be fighting towards. A couple years ago, this is a lost season. Let's just get out the young kids and just see what we have. There's still stuff to be fighting for. You mentioned Reading, you mentioned the Nor'easters. Those are kind of the big rivals coming up. How are the players preparing? Is it any different? But also, how are you preparing as a general manager?
Well, so I'm the general manager of the men's program. Our coach Brian Woods, he does almost all of our soccer side recruiting and the like for the USL2 team. I fill in the gap between our under 23 program, our U20 program, which is by one of our partner clubs or partner youth clubs, and make sure that there's movement between players, up into the pipeline. So that's kind of my job. But then secondly, it's things like the fan side experience. So there are some clubs that don't try to get fans. They do the bare minimum in terms of meeting the league standards. But ourselves, Reading and the Nor'easters, I would argue, we try to make sure that we're more holistic about it. We try to bring fans in. We have a big club night this Saturday where we've already sold a couple of hundred tickets. So not necessarily as many as Lions Bridge or Annapolis, but we also, we only have 1,000-person venue. So when we have 500, 600 people in the venue, it's pretty packed, and we're looking forward to a match like that, assuming the weather holds out. We've had really, really bad luck with weather. In fact, we had a near sellout crowd in terms of pre-ticket sales for our first game, and we had thunderstorms in advance. So we wound up having less than half of that number of people come to the game. So, but yeah, so we spend a lot of time on fan experience. We do minor league baseball kind of stuff. So we have the local equestrian center sponsors our we call them halftime horse races, where we have our mascots race against kids on the field and things like that. So we really try to make it an experience. We have food truck and beer garden at every game. So those little things, I think, make a big difference compared to where we started, back in 2021 and 2022, when we didn't have those on a regular basis.
You know, I always just kind of wonder, with being a general manager or being an owner or a club president, whatever it is, how do you experience the match? Do you as soon as it starts, do you just become a fan, or are you just constantly taking notes of like, this needs to be better? I like how this went. Like, are you able to detach your work brain from fan brain?
So, yeah, that's a good question. It's different for home games and away games for me. Um, so for away games, I effectively act as an assistant coach, and so I'm on the bench. I'm in the locker room. I talk to the coaches about on tactically on the field. If I have anything to say, I mean, Nick LaBracca, who's our assistant coach, was an MLS All Star. Yeah, I have very little to to add to him unless I happen to see something that he doesn't. But for home games, sit on the fan side, and I'm dealing with usually with any issues that come up, like with, a fan not being able to get in who thought that they had tickets, to all the way to, we had an issue with a permit for an ice cream stand that we had put up. So just little things like that. Like it's all, the fan side experience is so important, especially for a club like ours, which has aspirations to have a professional side, which looks like, I'm going to break a little news here, looks like it might happen in 27. So which will be, a big step forward for us. We've already announced that we're exploring, pro expansion, both on the men's and women's side, in WPSL Pro. We had wanted to go to the Super League, but when they moved the Super League to Division One, we're just not a Division One market, right? So we had to find an alternative for the pro side of the women's, and we've signed a letter of intent with WPSL Pro now.
So when you're in that brain of needing to transition to being a professional club, obviously you mentioned you're trying to run everything as professionally as possible already. You know, in theory, the transition shouldn't be too hard. It's not like you're going from being a bare minimum club to being a pro club. But what is the transition like for you, and when does it truly start?
Yeah, so the timeline is it'll start probably the beginning of next year. So basically, call it a year out from from the start. So in going pro, there's some things that you need to have in order to meet the U.S. soccer standard. So you need things like we'll need some full-time staff. Right now, all of our staff is either volunteer or part-time staff in terms of our coaches, and then a couple of people on the fan side who get small stipends. So we'll need at least a few full-time staff. The players, the question is, will the players be full-time or part-time? That's a big thing. There's not such a thing in the U.S. really as semi-pro, right? We call USL2 semi-pro, not, right? These are, yeah, these are collegiate players or amateurs. They're not actually getting paid money, right? They get paid small stipends for travel and things like that, but it's not like they're making a living wage or something like that, but for playing football. So that's one big change, right? Is that we do need to hire full-time staff. The second piece is, and ironically, some things that make it easier is we're not going to have games. We're not going to have 2 game weeks very often. At least 2 home games, right? So actually, in the next 7 days, we have 4 home games between the men's team and the women's team. And once we go pro, we won't have that at all ever, because our season will wind up being March through the end of September or early October, right? And then playoffs following that, as opposed to the USL and WPSL seasons where we start May 20th and we end, July 9th is our last game, right? So you're talking about, basically a 7-week season, where you do just as much work as you probably would for the pro side. So it's easier to do things like get fans to come back. When we poll our fans and say, if you didn't go to every game, why not? The number one reason that they give, and more than half the people give this, is I can't commit to more than one night a week of going to a game. And now in a week we have 4 games. So I'm expecting a really good crowd on Saturday, but next Wednesday's game, I don't know how many we're going to have there, quite frankly, because it's our second men's game in a week and we have a women's game the day before, right? So that's a big challenge that having a pro environment will significantly reduce, right? Just having more time between matches, it doesn't burn out our volunteers, right? We still expect to have a lot of volunteers help on game day. So all of these things are positives in some way and challenges in others, right? We also need to think about how to finance the team, right? Because paying 20 odd players is much different than not paying players like we do currently in USL2.
So just to kind of go back to what's going on today, right now, I want to bring up a player to you. Luca Pompliano. I mean,
Mhm.
he has been scoring, he's been assisting. Anytime that you look at the stat page, it's almost always him that is, getting the goals. What has he meant to the club?
Yeah, so he's been involved in every goal that we've scored this season. So he's been huge. So Luke, this is his 4th year with our club. A couple of years ago, he was signed Stash Korzanowski, who just got his debut in a friendly with the Philadelphia Union. He's been playing on the Union too. We also had Hale Lombard, who's playing professionally in Europe now, who was also on that squad. So Luke's always been like second fiddle to some of these guys, but I think between his collegiate career at Villanova and then last year at Fordham, and also playing with our team in the summer, he's really improved. And in particular, it wasn't his physicality, it wasn't his technical ability, it's his soccer IQ. His soccer IQ and positioning has just become so much better over the last, I would say, at least 2 seasons that we've seen him, that it's really made him special. And I have no doubt that he'll be an asset to any professional team that he goes and plays. Quite frankly, we have had some interest from USL teams in taking a look at him more closely. So I suspect I'm hoping we don't lose him for a game or two, but we always do. Like last year, we lost 3 players for a couple of games because of trial with MLS teams or USL teams, and yeah, there's one of the risks, right? You get these great players and people want to see them, but yeah, good for them, right? We had now 3 players make their MLS debuts this year, from who had played for us in the past in USL2. So we're, pretty happy and excited about that, and certainly happy for them.
You did mention that there was an unfortunate goalkeeping mistake, but other than that, Josh Snyder has been pretty nails outside of one bad moment. What have you seen from him of being able to recover from a really costly mistake that happens to every goalkeeper, but you hate to see it when it happens.
So actually, Josh, we've been switching our goalkeepers every half. So Josh has been playing the first half for us, and then Stephen Deek, who actually played on our USL Academy team, he was played on our U14 team a couple of years ago, and now plays at Delaware, and he's our other keeper. So it was actually Stephen that made that bad error, and I don't want to
Gotcha.
call him out because everyone has a bad, a bad stake, a bad get, and he knows that he did it, so we don't need to harp on that. And then he's made some spectacular saves well, so we can't say it. One of the big challenges with USO League 2 is how do you keep your guys happy, right? Because
Mm,
there's players who because the players, one, don't get paid, and then secondly, they all want minutes. The question, do you do what we do, which is switch our goalkeepers at halftime and risk it, right? Like if our second half goalkeeper gets injured, then we have to put a field player in for that player, which could be pretty detrimental.
yeah.
um, but at the same time, the other alternative is to alternate every other game. But then do you want to ask guys to travel several, 3 hours or something like that in order to, just sit on the bench and be the reserve keeper? That's pretty hard. I know that USL2 tries to be closer to the professional game than it does to the college game. But that does make an error. And I think Stevens bounced back pretty significantly. That was our certainly the that was the I don't want to say that's a reason we lost the game, because we also had 12 shots after that goalkeeping error, and we didn't get any goals. So you could argue that it was our shooting booth that caused it. But we certainly he's a great goalkeeper, and he's young too, right? That's the other thing. Like, he's a
Yeah.
rising sophomore, going to Delaware, so he's not, so I suspect that we'll have him for a couple more years.
So, last thing before I let you go, it's how we end every single interview on this show, which is when you're away from soccer, when you're away from doing this whole thing and you're looking to unwind, what TV show or movie or book are you reading right now just to kind of get your mind off some things?
So I'm a big fantasy person. So actually, I've been recently listening to. I read all day on a computer screen for my day job. So I listen to books. That's why I'm a big podcast person myself. But called Expeditionary Force. It's a fun little fantasy. I'm not going to say it's absolutely great literature like Lord of the Rings or anything, but it's a space fantasy, and it's fun. Yeah.
Very cool. All right. Thank you so much for hopping on. I really appreciate your time. It's always good to catch up with you and have a great rest of your season.
Thanks. Great to be here, and I look forward to listening to the show.
See ya. So that was Ira Jersey from not Real Central New Jersey. Um, it's always great to catch up with him. We talked to him in the past. Quite an interesting little nugget that he dropped in there with they are going pro in 2027. We'll see exactly what that means. He mentioned WPL Pro, but we'll see what else is kind of included in there. So that should be interesting. So there were a lot of matches yesterday, and because we are already 18 minutes into this, and my internet is bad right now. I don't know what's going on. You can Xfinity, whatever they're doing. So I just kind of want to hit a little bit of stats and then just kind of talk about those kind of things. Again, I'm not going to try to run from the fact that Legion did lose 7-0 last night to Asheville City, in which I'm going to tell you this. Who the people at at League HQ, Asheville City is the best team in the league. I don't care. When you have a 28 goal differential, positive 28 goal differential, because you've scored 28 goals and conceded 0, I'm sorry, that is the best team in the league. No. Ballard are awesome. They're incredible. They are a really good squad. There are really good teams in the Asheville's number one. Respect them. They are so good. They are so good. Okay. So I'm sorry to all of the teams that, had really fun matches. Redlands had an awesome match against Southern California where they won 3-2. There was a fun match in with Project 510 in San Francisco Glens. Capo FC had a fun win, 1-0. You had C2-1. There were a lot of fun matches throughout the leagues. We also saw some good ones out in the W League as well, but we need to hit stats. We haven't done it in a little while. So let's go ahead. And it says that the last time that this has been updated was is that Monday? Was the 9th on Monday? The 9th was Monday. So we're going to go ahead, just go with our top goal squad now, according to the league website. A name that you've heard a lot, Sean Batistessa. He with 8 was Zach Giles on 7. Same with Felix Ewald with Lions Bridge. Quinn Mahoney on goals with Batista Rossi Molinas with Lane United on 6 goals. And there's a lot of players, a lot of players on 5 goals. Then let's go over to the assist number as I'm pulling it up. Yoshiwa Okawa has 6 assists for the Des Moines Menace. What a baller. Quinn Mahoney, we mentioned him earlier. He has 5 assists. Same with Paul Kalari. He has 5 assists for FC Tucson. And Justin Milovana. Oh my gosh, I can do this. Milovanov for FC Tucson as well. So 2 FC Tucson guys right there. And when we look at our goalkeeper saves, Joshua Moya, Davis, help him. Help him. He has 33 saves. Help him. Lucas Bost for San Juan SC, 20 saves. It's just all gas, no breaks for San Juan. They are goals and vibes only, it seems like. Alexander Drexler also has 27 saves for FC Ambush. And Diego Vasallo has 20. Vasallo, not sure which one it is, with 24 saves for Miami AC. Now, on the women's side, also time's been updated, was on the 9th. Samantha Urbach and Jenny Lackey both have 7 goals. Urbach with FC Cincinnati Kings Hammer and Lackey with FC Olympia. 7 Castaigne has 6 goals. Same with Elia Fadul with Sporting Jacks. Both have 6 goals. And then a nice little players on 5 goals. That's always fun. Tandem Nelson, Lily Badoof, Jolie Farmer, Jaden Anderson, and Francesca Johnson. They all have 5 goals. And there's a lot of players on 4 goals and 3 goals, etc., etc. Let's go to assist. Why don't we? By the way, we're in the W League. I didn't change that. All right. In the W, Kunde, Leah Kunde and Audrey Shackelford both have 5 assists. Kunde with Racing Louisville and Shackelford with San Juan FC. Rachel Walters, 4 assists. And then Tanner Strickland, Mega Santa Cruz, Lily Hall, Laura Maschio, Jolie Farmer once again, Caitlin Conroy, and Blake Oliver the assist on that season. And then for goalkeeper saves, Cannon Dahama has 33 saves as well. Someone help her. Allison Lapointe for Detroit City with 30 saves as well. Help her. Someone please. Please. Ella Kratovichel. Oh my gosh. What a name. This is an awesome name, and I'm destroying it. Kratochivil. I'm so sorry because you have such a name and I just cannot pronounce it. I'm so sorry. Morgan Sinan with 28 goals, and then a couple on 27, a couple on one on 25, a couple on 24, some on 22, etc., 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 etc. Yeah, lots of fun stuff going on. We will give you your last update of the week. We are going to talk about today's matches. Let's go ahead and tell you what's happening today, the 12th of June. City's taking on FC Tucson. As I need to, oh, I've already done that. Look at me go. Good podcaster. Let's see. Schedule. City SC Tucson in the Southwest. Heartland in the Heartland. RKC Third Coast is taking on Riverlight. Also in the Heartland, St. Croix SC is taking on Rochester. In the NorCal division, Davis Legacy is taking on Monterey Bay FC. In the Lone Star, Twin City Toucan is taking on AH Bills. In Southwest Stars FC is taking on Coachella SC. In the Chesapeake, Virginia Marauders is taking on Annapolis Blues FC. In the Mountain, Utah United taking on Colorado Storm. Today's schedule for the W League. We'll get there. I'll get there. I am pausing. I am stuttering. I am fighting for my life. Apparently, this says South Georgia Tormenta versus NC Courage is happening at 9 a.m. today, which 2 minutes. I thought that match happened. I thought they were going to delay, and it did not end up happening. Let me see. W League, because I thought they tried to play that match again. Let's see. Yeah, they play. Oh no, they are playing right now. Hey, live update. North Carolina's up 1-0. Happening right now. So if you're bored, wait to the end and go watch North Carolina versus Tormenta happening literally at this moment. This is fun. Let me dive into this one just a little bit. Do I know who the goal scorer is yet? No, but I can tell you that Tormentos and North Carolina are both in the say it with me, 4-3-3. Isn't that cool? Live updates. Virginia Atlantic WFC is taking on Charlotte Blues. In the Mountain, Utah United is taking on Colorado Storm. SC Blue Heat taking on OC Sporting. Minnesota Aurora taking on Chicago City Dutch Lions. Academica SC taking on Oakland Soul. The Flatirons FC taking on Albion SC Colorado. And then Tennessee SC taking on the Chattanooga Red Wolves. And that is that for today. We will break down the Tormenta match tomorrow. That will be a fun one, as they are already losing apparently. So thank you all so much for listening. We appreciate you. Thank you again to Ira Jersey for hopping on. It was always good to talk to him. It's always fun to talk to him. And we'll see you tomorrow. Peace.
Thank you for watching another episode of the USL Show.
The USL Show is now proudly part of the Protagonist podcast family. Please go to protagonistsoccer.com to check out more work. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see everyone again next time.